Every outlet called it a routine public appearance. The footage from the other camera tells a completely different story. The clip most people saw was 12 seconds. Barron Trump at his mother's side, moving through a corridor of reporters, head down, stride long. Standard, unremarkable, the kind of footage that gets filed and filed again without anyone pulling it from the archive, because nothing in it appears to require pulling. His hand was at his side. His jaw is forward. His face carries the particular blankness of a 19-year-old who has grown up inside the most documented family in the world and learned by necessity to offer the cameras as little as possible. Then the reporter said the thing about his mother. What happened in the following 4 seconds was not filed as remarkable footage. It was, by every visible metric, a minor adjustment, a shift in pace, a slight pivot, a brief exchange that lasted less time than it takes to read this sentence. The pool reporters who were present described it later in 3 separate accounts. All 3 accounts used different words. All 3 described the same silence that followed. Start at the moment the silence began. The corridor outside the East Room, February 15th. A pool spray. Standard format, 3 cameras, 2 print reporters, and 1 audio boom. The event had been a youth technology summit. Melania had spoken for 11 minutes about child online safety and AI. The appearance had been, by every measure, controlled. Her remarks were prepared. Her posture was composed. Her expression was the expression she carries in public. Not cold, but private, held slightly behind glass in the way of someone who has decided that warmth is a resource, and public events are not the place to spend it freely. Barron had stood at the perimeter of the room for the duration, not beside her, not in the frame. At the edge of it, present, visible if you knew where to look, absent from every photograph that ran that afternoon. He had been doing this since the inauguration. The State of the Union had been the exception, seated in the gallery beside her, waiting for her to stand before he joined the applause. The gesture catching on camera and producing, briefly, more coverage than anything his father said that night. He did not appear to have planned the gesture. That was the quality that made it significant. It was not performed. It simply happened, the way things happen when a person's instinct and their character are the same thing. He was 17 steps from the exit when the reporter spoke. The question was about the documentary. Melania had recently given a lengthy interview about her years in the White House, her relationship with her husband, and the specific texture of a life lived inside a political operation that had never fully accounted for what it was asking of her. The reporter's question was framed around a specific passage from that interview, a line about choices made, about the cost of certain silences, and about what it means to protect your child in an environment designed to expose everything. The question was not hostile in its construction. It was probing. The difference between hostile and probing is the intent behind the angle, and the intent here was not damage. It was access. The reporter wanted the thing behind the glass. Melania's answer began forming in the 2-second pause that precedes her answers. Always the same pause, always exactly 2 seconds. The interval of a woman who has trained herself to measure the distance between what is asked and what she is willing to give. She didn't finish the pause. Barron was beside her before it ended. Not loudly, not dramatically. He crossed the 4 feet between his position and hers with the particular quality of movement that belongs to people who are very tall and very certain. Movement that takes up space without announcing itself. The way a wall doesn't announce itself, it's simply there. He positioned himself at her left shoulder. He didn't touch her. He didn't look at the reporter. He looked at his mother for exactly 1 second, with the flat, complete inventory of someone checking that a thing is intact. Then he looked at the reporter. He said 3 sentences. Quiet. Even. Without elevation. The first named the question's premise and corrected it, not aggressively, not with the performance of correction, but with the specific efficiency of someone who has identified an error and has no particular interest in expanding the moment beyond the correction itself. The second provided the accurate framing in fewer words than the question had used to misframe it. The third was a redirect, not a shutdown, but a reorientation, a door open toward a different angle that the reporter was free to take or not take. The reporter took a breath, did not immediately respond. In the silence between Barron's third sentence and whatever came next, a pool camera operator on the left side of the corridor kept her lens on him for 6 seconds without cutting. She said later she wasn't sure why she held on that long. She said he reminded her of something she couldn't name in the moment. She named it afterward, a person who has decided what they will and won't permit in a room, and has made that decision so completely that no part of it requires announcement. Melania looked at her son once, 1 second, then looked forward again. Her expression had not changed, but the 2-second pause that precedes her answers did not recur for the rest of the spray. She answered the following questions, with the interval compressed to half. A small thing. Visible only in retrospect, on playback, to people watching for it. The other camera had been running the whole time, a network feed, wide angle, positioned 40 feet back. It caught the full movement, Barron's crossing, the positioning, the 3 sentences, the silence, in a single uncut take that the network's overnight editor pulled from the archive at 11 p.m. and posted without commentary. It ran everywhere by morning, not for the 3 sentences. Nobody quoted the 3 sentences in full because the 3 sentences were, in themselves, unremarkable, accurate, measured, requiring no quotation because they had done their job completely and left nothing behind that needed to be carried. What ran everywhere was the movement. The 4 feet covered in the 2 seconds of Melania's pause, the positioning on her left shoulder, the 1-second inventory of her face. Look at the reporter who followed it. People who covered the White House for a living said they had not seen that particular combination of behaviors from a member of the first family in the current administration. Not defensive, not reactive, not performed for the cameras. And here, the cameras at 40 feet detail mattered, because a performance calibrated for the 3 cameras in the pool spray would not have read the same to a lens positioned 40 feet back, and it read the same. It read the same because it was not a performance. Trump posted about it at 9:17 a.m. Not about Barron, about Melania, about the documentary, or about the media's framing of the interview passage. He called the reporter's question dishonest. He called the coverage biased. He used 7 sentences to say things Barron had said in 3. His post ran beside the clip in every thread that shared it, not as commentary. In contrast, the inventory of the same moment was processed by 2 different people with 2 different relationships to it. A former White House communications director, speaking to a reporter that afternoon, said, "You have to understand that the kid grew up watching that dynamic from inside it. He said he knows every angle of it better than any reporter in that corridor. He said, what you saw today was someone deciding that knowing is the same as being responsible for what you do with what you know." He said it mattered that Barron had made that decision at 19, in a corridor, on camera, without a communications team in his ear. At 3:14 a.m., a network received an anonymous communication from a former East Wing staffer, no name, matching letterhead, a single paragraph stating that the exchange in the corridor had not been planned, briefed, or coordinated with any communications staff, and that the staffer had been present and could confirm that Barron Trump had acted entirely on his own initiative. The paragraph ended with one line. What distinguishes character from performance is that character does not require a briefing room. The network verified the letterhead. No way to dismiss it quickly. No counterstatement before morning. The footage from the other camera, the 40-foot wide angle, the full uncut take, was pulled by 17 separate outlets before noon and run without narration. Just the corridor, the 4 feet, the pause, the positioning, the 3 sentences nobody quoted, the silence that followed them. People watched it the way people watch things that confirm something they already knew but couldn't locate until the confirmation arrived. They shared it without captions, without analysis. The footage was the analysis. The corridor was the argument. The 4 feet covered in the 2 seconds of a pause were the entire inventory of what that family is, examined in the only place where the examination is conclusive. Not in a post, not in a briefing, not in a documentary, but in a hallway, with cameras running, when no one had time to decide what to perform. After everything you just saw, ask yourself one thing. What else has been hiding behind the noise? Subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story isn't over. It's just getting started.